Good morning, team. We are back with another episode of Cajun Tiger Plays, and we're going to start this episode with a huge apology. So, I record videos in advance, and I don't always watch them right after I record them, and so I made a boo-boo here. We cleaned this up a little bit, gave it some higher speed belts, and we never connected it back. That's why we were having trouble getting graphene on the other planet. Now, that's not necessarily going to solve all of our graphene problems, but it will help. So, yeah. So, for those of you who watch these videos in the future, after years have gone by, and you are wondering why I did things, that's part of why. So, anyway, all that said, let's get busy started with what we need to build for today. And we are going to, as I said before, we're going to focus on building on our dark side of this planet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to start right here and mark it, and then we'll jump in and look at what we're building. So we are headed towards building solar sails. We need graphene, which we're producing here, and we can always get from another planet if we need to. We know that we can get the other things that we need. We can always go back to Pixidus 1 and send graphene out as well, because we have an abundance now. So we also are getting graphene here, so we may turn that off for export and just use what we have here. The other thing we need are these photon combiners, and they need prisms and electric circuits, or circuit boards I should say. Prisms are made from glass, and electric circuit boards, as you know, are made from iron and copper. We will need more copper later. So what we're going to do is jump into a high-speed mode here so that I can build out 2 smelting arrays each for copper and iron and glass. And we will come back after that and talk about our next steps, which will include making prisms, making electric circuits, and getting everything we need to hopefully get solar sails made today. But for now, high-speed mode, getting these first few smelting arrays built. Hate to jump in and mess up the 1812 overture, but we do need to talk about a few things. We'll finish our smelting arrays, add a prism array and a circuit board array, do some work on the power grid here, adding more solar panels, and even head back to Pixidus 1 to pick up some things that we need there before continuing our work here in regular speed. While we're watching this stuff go along in the background, let's go back and talk about a couple of things that I forgot to mention. First of all, 2 weeks ago, our If You Know, You Know by Grapthar's Hammer, You Shall Be Avenged. That was said by Alan Rickman's character, Sir Alexander Dane, in Galaxy Quest, a 1999 movie that was kind of spoof on Star Trek, playing off on some of the motifs from Star Trek and just having fun with it. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, just a fun show. We loved watching that movie, and I thought that was a good quote to include. Last week's If You Know, You Know is from the Fellowship of the Rings, when Frodo says about the ring and the need to destroy it, "I wish it need not have happened in my time," and Gandalf says, "So do I, and so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." So that is the quote from Fellowship of the Rings. If you haven't read it, you really should. It is classic. If you've only seen the movies, you probably heard the quote there as well. All right, let's do a shout out for today's episode. Today's shout out will return to our TV shows that we liked we are going to do a shout out for Stargate, particularly for SG-1. Although we did watch Atlantis, and some of my kids actually watched Star Trek Universe. I think my parents did too. I didn't end up watching Star Trek Universe, but I did watch Star Trek SG-1. It was a favorite around our house with Michael Shanks and Richard Dean Anderson, Amanda Tapping, Christopher Judge. Just really fun. Matter of fact, my kids' first role-playing game ever when they were real little. They were probably a little bit too young to understand what they needed to be doing in role-playing games and how they worked. But the very first one, they played a Stargate SG-1 team and went on an adventure through the Stargate. And they, I think they had fun with it. Some of them still play role-playing games and still enjoy that, but maybe not as much as they, maybe didn't enjoy it as much when they were kids, but they did enjoy it a little bit, I think. And again, Stargate SG-1, that's our shout out for today. Did you watch Stargate SG-1? Did you watch Atlantis? Did you enjoy it? I thoroughly enjoyed the show, and I think you should watch it if you haven't. It's a great show. Alright, we are back live. We're going to do one more thing here while we're standing here, and that is copy and paste this recipe one time. We will need it later, but we don't need it right away. So, again, all of this is stuff that we've done before, so I don't feel too bad about doing this on high-speed mode. I think you guys understand how to build most of these things. We are out of foundations. We did have to go back and pick up sorters, and we'll have to do that again, but for now I think this will be good. We are on our way to building these photon combiners. That's what we're going to build next. They do require assemblers, so we will build them with our assemblers, and we're going to come right over here to line up with our other build. What we'll do is subtract down to 5 by 5 just to mark our spot, and that way we know what we're building here, and we can start working on our build. Let's come up to the top section like we should have done over there, but I didn't. That is the right spot there. Okay, actually I did that incorrectly. We don't need that. We need our blueprint. We are doing 2 to 1.
Mineral depleted.
So we are going to build right there. Yes, that is the correct spot. And I did uncheck this. I don't know if I'll comment on it in a high-speed mode when I do the voiceover, but did uncheck that because when you run out of something, if you run the upgrade over it, even if it's just set to 1, it will try to upgrade it. And we obviously don't want that yet for some of these things. All right, let's see. We can put 1 there. We can just come down, connect to that. We'll clean all of this up eventually if we feel like it. All right, we need to do some formulas real quick. We are going to be making photon combiners. That is 2, which 2 times 0.75 is 1.5, and if we do our math, 1.5 divided by 3 is 0.5. So that means each machine will be doing 0.5, and 12 belts divided by 0.5 is 24. And the cool thing about that is we're sharing belts, so it's 12 on each side. So it's fairly easy for this one. We don't have, let's jump back in here real quick. We don't have we do have the grading crystals, but we don't want to use them for this. We don't want them to take away from our Casimir crystal usage that we have on the other worlds. So we'll just build 12 and build these the manual way. Grab some fuel for our mech so that he quits complaining. All right. And then we'll build this one, which will get us most of the way to our solar sails. So we are going to have to jump back to the other planet to get supplies and things like that as we do this. So again, jump into, you guys know how to build these. I did want to stop and pause and make a comment and do the formula, but we'll do the rest of this in yet another high speed mode, including going back to the other planet and possibly even doing some more work with the energy, the power on this planet, because we don't want to run out of energy either. So we'll be back in just a minute after we get all of this built. And let's see, let me look at my notes real quick and see. I think we just need one of these. Yeah, we'll do one of these. And then before we go, we'll do, we will get foundations as well on the other planet. But let's go ahead and look at, I did it again. Not that. We want a 2-to-1 or a 2-build assembler unit, and that can go right there. And while that's building, we'll look in here real quick at our solar sails, which are 2 items to 1, but it's using the graphene and the, what are these things called again? Photon combiners. So that's what they'll build. That's what we'll build here. So we'll build solar sails here. We'll build the photon combiners here, and then we'll go look. I will go look at our other locations, see how we're doing with our graphene. So high speed mode to get this knocked out. Again, we'll be making a trip to the other planet probably before we can say it's all done, but we'll be back after the high speed mode. Jumping in here real quick to talk about what's coming next. So we are getting very close to the end, and again, we want to work on all the milestones. We want to work on all the research that we can and get our Dyson Sphere built, but with the volume of Dyson Sphere, that may end up just being a high-speed mode where we watch things happen and talk about some other stuff. But with the changes in our gaming coming up to a different game, I don't want to do another playthrough, as we've already done that. I'm thinking of doing what I want to call a first look series. It'll be a first look at a brand new game, something that I have in my inventory but have not played. So I have a couple of ideas. I have Desynced and No Man's Sky, Pal World, Planet Crafter, Shapes 2, just some games that I have that I want to play, but I'm kind of leaving them open so that I can do a true first look where I don't do any research. I just play the game raw, and you guys can see me make all the mistakes and learn all the things that I need to learn about the game. So let me know if you have any ideas, if you prefer any of those games, if one of them's on your list and you wanted to see it before you make a commitment to buy it. Let me know. I will definitely take that into account. I'm probably leaning towards Pal World, just because I've had friends tell me I really need to play that game. I do have a few others that I've played maybe once or twice that I might add to the list in the future, but that's the second type of video. This is a playthrough video. I also want to do first look videos where we just take some raw look at a game. I've got a couple other ideas for videos that I want to do, and I'll talk about those later, but for now, let me know what you think. Desynced, No Man's Sky, Pal World, Planet Crafter, Shapes 2. Okay, we now have solar sails being created. We will definitely need more graphene on this planet, but as we have solar sails, we want to discuss how Dyson spheres work. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to put out an EM-Rail ejector and listen to our advisor as he tells us a little bit about EM-Rail ejectors and what we need to know about those. Well, first thing we're going to do is put more power in our mech so that we don't have to listen to that tone anymore. Okay, now we'll put out our EM-Rail ejector, listen to the advisor, and then we'll come back and talk in a minute.
an EM-Rail Ejector. You've taken the first step in building a Dyson Sphere. Now use it to eject solar sails into space to form Dyson Swarm. You must supply solar sails to each EM-Rail Ejector and configure target orbit for solar sails. You can also copy orbit data from an ejector and paste to another. If you want a more diverse Dyson Swarm orbit, click the Dyson Sphere button at the bottom left corner of the screen to open the Dyson Sphere panel. There you can customize orbits for your Dyson Swarm.
Okay, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to click down here. You can also press Y. We are going to select orbit 1. You can see the information over here, orbit inclination, longitude of AN, and the orbit radius. Only thing we're going to do here is we're going to adjust, well, no, actually we're going to leave that radius where it is. If you want to dig into all the details of how all of that works, great, more power to you. It is incredibly confusing. Orbital mechanics is not my fortitude, so we're going to stick with that. Just be aware that as you choose different orbits, you can run into issues with where planets are. There are benefits to building a Dyson Sphere outside of a planet, so there's a planet orbiting the star within the Dyson Sphere. There are benefits of that. You can look that up online. We're not going to do all of that. What we are going to do is add a new layer, and we're going to make our new layer. There you go. There's some of the too close to the orbit of a planet. So we're going to go with, let's select that number and just go 10,000, and we're going to change our orbit inclination to, well, we don't want to add, that's my mistake. My apologies. We're going to work with this shell that already exists, and all of that information's already here. My apologies. So what we have is we have the ability to add a node. We can add frames. You can change down here the grid lines that are on your canvas, which we're not going to do. We did do that research, which allowed us to expand to this above this 15 degrees. Originally, we just had this center section. We're actually not going to design that. And then you can fill in here. So let me show you how this works with a couple of designs. If we build a simple square like this, that's enclosed, and you can now fill it with Dyson
You plan a
sails.
Dyson shell. Once the nodes and frames on the shell are built, the solar sails will be automatically attached and form the Dyson shell. Each solar sail provides one cell point. You can check the cell points required for the Dyson Sphere in Shell Panel.
So here's the cell points. So this particular box that we built requires 4,056 cell points, and it requires 520 structure points. So we are going to delete it because it's not actually what we want to build, but I did want to show you how that worked. Now we can build another one here, and all of these are structure points on the outside. And then if we wanted to build, we can't build inside because it's too close. Now with this built this way, we are not allowed to build a shell in there because we don't have that as an enclosed structure. So the same thing would be true if we build this a little bit bigger and we wanted to make an empty spot in the middle. We can put Dyson sails or solar sails in here. We cannot put them in this outer section because it's got that gap in the middle. So that helps us with our design, helps us understand how things need to be designed a little bit. But you build these outside sections, and then you can't build anything inside of it. But once you have the outside sections, you can fill it with solar sails, which gives you Dyson Sphere. So I am going to build what I hope makes sense and works as our Dyson Sphere, and I'm going to do it in high-speed mode so that you guys don't have to sit and watch while I plan everything out. Hopefully I won't make too many mistakes, and we'll be able to get going. So high-speed mode for building planning our Dyson Sphere. right, there we go. Cajun Tiger. I always wanted to see my name up in lights, and if we build our Dyson Sphere, we'll be able to do that. We have, looks like almost 60,000 sails that we need, and a little over 10,000, 11,000 structure points. So we're going to need a lot of rockets. We're going to need a lot of solar sails. So we will get busy doing those in just a moment. Okay, we're back live. Needed to do a save point and needed to test some builds out for our EM rails, and we need to move where we're building down to this side of the planet instead. EM rails are a little unique. We'll talk about it as we go, but one of the unique things is that we are on a tidally locked planet. So we're going to be building a little different than you normally would, because we want all of our EM rails operating all the time. Now, we did build 36 of these, and that is because they eject 20 solar sails per minute. And if we multiply 20 times 36, that's 720 per minute, which is 12 per second, which is a full belt. Exactly what we want. So we will start by, let's get a little power for our Tesla, or for our planetary logistics station. And we'll pull our solar sails into here. We don't want to pull too many because we don't need too many, so we'll just pull 1,000 for now. Demand those and drop in our drones, get everything rolling, and we will reverse the path on this belt and pull solar sails out right there. Okay, now head back to the equator to start building our EM-Rail Ejectors. They have restrictions. You can see there it says rotation blocked by high building. We're too close to these solar panels and the wind turbine and whatever else. So we are doing a vertical build, which is a little bit different than normal, but part of the reason for that is the power issues that we're going to face and the fact that we're on a tidally locked planet means that we can build this way and keep them completely active all the time, as opposed to building a ring around the planet and just having a few active at a time. I'll explain more of that in just a minute. We are going to build these guys because their power, we don't need to build 20 of those. We just need 10, 11, that'll be fine. Until that gets done. Okay, there we go. Let's put one right here, and that will power our EM-Rail Ejector, and we can put our solar sails in him, and we have to tell him which orbit we want, because remember, we can have multiple orbits. We can have multiple Dyson spheres and Dyson swarms. So we want him to go to orbit number 1. It's going to tell us what the target pitch angle is. If this number is not, I think, between 5 and 60, I think, is the number that's allowed, it is not going to work. It's going to give us a different status here, and it won't be active. So we want to keep that number between 5 and 60, which is why we have to build a certain way. We can keep that, and you can see he is working. You can see all the solar sails starting to orbit the sun right there, and we'll see more of that in just a minute. But as we build these guys, we will build a full line of 36 from pole to pole almost, and that will give us the 12 per second using our full belt and be exactly what we want to do. So those guys are getting ejected. That's part of the reason why we're doing it this way, because we definitely want to have them all working at the same time. That is one of the benefits of a tidally locked planet. Doesn't necessarily have to be that way for every planet, or you don't have to do a tidally locked planet. You won't find a tidally locked planet everywhere, but when you have one, this is one of the benefits that you get. You can do your EM rails this way, and it kind of helps take care of things a little bit better. Let's see, we need, I think, that many. Let's get rid of that guy and put him a little bit further away so that his sorter works. Okay, now we just need to power these guys, and then we'll duplicate the same thing on the other side of the planet. in the other hemisphere. The nice thing about these particular things, you can see the range on their power, so that is a really good thing. That's why we only need a few of them. So we'll build these until we, oops, got stuck on a rock. Let's see. Well, we can build him right on the parallel, and then one more up here. Well, we don't even need to do that. We can just do a regular Tesla tower here in the middle, and that will power those last two. All right, so that's going to keep these guys going, and then we will come down here, get rid of our wind turbine, and we'll do the exact same thing basically on the other side of the planet. We'll just keep taking our belt of solar sails all the way to the globe, all the way to the pole. Well, maybe not all the way to the pole, but you know what I mean. Get it all the way up here to there for now, and finish out the rest of it in just a minute. Come down here and grab a copy of our EM-Rail gun and put him same meridian, same distance apart, and we can build him and all these guys over here. And as these get built, we should be able to jump out and see our solar sails in orbit and things looking good. Let's see, I don't want to build that too far away. Well, and I guess it doesn't matter too much. Just add our, before we copy, we will add our sorter in. And we have one more left. We'll build him there, take our belt all the way that way, and put our sorter. Let's go back and let these things build and add some power to the situation. Let's see, we can go there, and that should be good. Get another one here. Yeah, that's good. And we can build another one. Let's see. We can't get too close. Let's put him there. And then we can just build some Tesla towers. The number of solar sails at this moment, 1,004 solar sails. Now, remember,
the number of your solar sails has grown, and a Dyson Swarm has formed around the star. You should be able to see it clearly now. The Dyson Swarm can constantly generate electricity. You need to build a ray receiver to obtain this energy. Every ejected solar sail has a regular service life. Keep ejecting solar sails to maintain the power output of the Dyson Swarm.
Okay, so we can build ray receivers and start receiving power to our system, which we may need to do. Let's see. Looks like we're okay on our power sufficiency right now, but we may need to do that by the time we build our rocket launchers, which do not require the same angle, target pitch that we have here. So what also we were looking at, and we want to pick some more of our technologies to build, but we had done these technologies here for solar sail life. So our solar sails they're going to last as long as they can. The next thing that we will get our ray transmission, but we do want to start getting our solar sail attaching speed, because as soon as we start launching rockets, we will start attaching the solar sails to the nodes. So we can continue doing this, which will give us more of our limit, and then we do controlled annihilation, which gives us the ability to make antimatter, which we don't need just yet, but we will eventually. We also need to be able to do our white science, which we need to be able to do our strange matter for that, and that'll happen when we do our ray receivers as well. So we're going to jump back over here, and we're going to do our ray transmission effects first so that we can get more energy when we build those ray receivers. We'll get up to level 4 or 5. Can we get up to 5? Yeah, we can get 5. We can actually go further than 5. But then we're going to do our attach speed here, because these will be useful for getting things attached to the solar sails and the nodes and components and all of that. So we'll see all of that next time. Let's jump out to our external view, and there we can see our ring is starting to form. Obviously, we don't have any nodes yet. We haven't launched any rockets. So if we look at we can see the ring is starting to form. As soon as we start doing rockets, we will see the nodes and these items, these structure points, start forming. And then we will start seeing the cell points attach, and these will start filling in with the various pieces that we've built. So that's all we have time for. We are over time probably already. So when we come back in our next episode, we do need to make a little bit of effort. I think we're probably going to need some graphene wherever our build is over here. Here it is. We're going to need some graphene over here for, what do we need graphene for here? Oh, well, we've got a full set. So we'll just jump into making our things that we need for rockets in our next episode. And we've already done an extra build for our circuits. So we'll use those. We'll make the rest of what we need for rockets and try to get our rockets done in our next episode. Until then, remember, players, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Keep building, team.